Hi, my name is Kieren Barber Wilson, and this is Uncommon.
Hi, my name is Walt Mather, and this is Uncommon.
Uncommon is a production focused on the why of business, media, and marketing. It's made by my team at Neural, a digital agency for challenger brands and talent. To learn more, just visit neural.com. That's neurale.com. My guest this week, Kieren, Walt,
Hello.
back in again. We were just having a good fucking whinge about builders and moving and all that, which you guys... So I noticed one of you, I don't know if it was you, Walt, or you, Kieren, posted about finding a new place at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the go with that?
Very difficult. Yeah, we've dealt with some difficult commercial real estate agents in the past, but nothing like this.
Really? So have you guys just like outgrown your current place, or?
Yeah, I think it's like a whole there's a lot of parts to it. Like outgrowing it, we want to like move in with like some similar businesses and start our own like little, I don't know, film ecosphere. It's almost like our own co-working that we're trying to like start up, you know, have more space, more people, more equipment. And that's just really exciting, and like doing something a little bit different after like 2 years of COVID in like a building that we could only go into like, you know, every second month, you know, just get out of that place, get a new place, you know, bigger and better things.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you're in a place for a bit, you kind of get over it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was like definitely a part of that for sure with the office that we're currently in, you know?
Yeah, and because it's an unusual space in that it's like it's not 3 floors, right? It's 2 floors.
Yeah, 2 floors. There's like an underground garage, a ground level garage. So yeah, technically 3 floors.
Interesting. Yeah, because I thought... I was just trying to remember back to when we went into it. I know you've got the upstairs area where you got like all the editing stuff, and then downstairs is just this, not I won't say mess, but like this vault of equipment.
Yeah, organised chaos without the organised part.
Is the right word. We were having a good old chat before about car rental businesses. For those who don't remember or hadn't listened to your first episode, you own two businesses. One is called Sharegear, the other is Dynamic Visuals. Now, Sharegear is focused on camera rentals.
Correct, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
We were discussing this horror story, something about cash converters, right?
Yeah, it's a long story. Honestly, where do we start? I reckon first the disclaimer. Let's start with the disclaimer.
Okay.
This is, you know... this is the first time that we're probably a couple months into renting things. You know, we're still trying to like figure out our process. We've gone through like all the like, you know, planning stage, like, theoretically we should have enough safety if we get these documents from them, and we've got these insurances, and we've got this and that. But that's all well and good. You know, it's once you actually start like handing out equipment, you start realizing that there's like little loopholes,
you could say.
You know, such as literally just like disappearing off the face of the earth. That was a loophole that we weren't really expecting.
This is a case of definitely the disappearing man. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
that is definitely a thing that Lauren's dad had explained to me before.
Yeah, and it's something that we now know, running a rental company, talking with others who run and have run, but something like a debt collection agency for a rental company has been described by a lot of people who run them as just like as important as you know, your electricity payment. It's just something you have to have, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you encounter someone like this, or encounter a situation like Walt and I did. So I think once you realize that, like, it's just going to happen, like, yeah, it's you will then have the sort of formalities in place to make sure it doesn't happen again.
So what happens in that instance? Like, someone runs off with your shit. What do? You push it over to debt collector of some sort? Yeah,
so this was a bit of a unique story, just because it was the first time it's ever happened to us, and we sort of knew it would happen eventually one day. Like, someone is bound, I'm not talking thousands of dollars, but surely someone's just not going to return a lens or not answer the phone. Stuff like that actually doesn't happen a lot. Usually, like, people are just good and bring it back, and it's now sort of like dealing with the whole thing about like the customer is always right. but you choose the customer. It's not up to them who's a customer. You're dictating who is a customer and who is just someone who wants your gear. But yeah, this guy, so the weird thing was we had a rental customer who had actually had a few successful rentals already, verified his ID, had a wedding videography business here in Melbourne, did all our due diligence, looked him up online, got his information, did all that. And then what happened was Walt and I were in Queensland on a work trip. And this is probably our first mistake, but we got my girlfriend to come. This is not a mistake of my girlfriend. She did great. It's our fault, but we got my girlfriend to come in and sort of facilitate the rental because we weren't there. That was our first mistake because it sort of separated us like from this guy just by that, if that makes sense. Because we had successful dealings with him.
When was this, by the way?
As
before COVID or
like right before, I'd say, almost exactly 2 years ago, like February 2020.
Okay.
Anyway, long story short, he doesn't return his gear. He's got like two cameras, 2 lenses, a Steadicam, a couple tripods.
Fuck.
So
it was something like a bad amount of money's worth of equipment. Long story short, without going into pictures.
It was a lot. And then, so what happened was we went through the usual channels of what you do when you do this, send a text, make a call, send an email, do that 5 more times. And then we finally realized, okay, it's like that classic Simpsons things, like maybe he isn't coming back. And then from there, we were sort of just dumbfounded, like didn't know what to do at all. We were like, we have this verification system in place. Like I thought this was supposed to protect us already. Like he had already submitted his 100 points. He was a Australian citizen. He had a successful business that had videos. He even had dealings with other rental companies. And usually all those factors are the things you would like if they didn't have any of those bases covered, you probably wouldn't want to rent to them. But yeah, so a couple hours after or days after we realized, okay, damn, this guy just ran off with all their stuff. We just start searching eBay, Facebook Marketplace. And then one of the items we rented this guy was quite a specialized lens. It's like a mini cinema lens for small prosumer cameras. And we saw the exact same lens on Cash Converters. And we're like, what are the chances someone like has that specific 25mm lens for sale at Chapel Street Cash Converters, 10 minutes away from our office. And then we check the site a bit more. We find another product that he took, a Panasonic GH5. We're like, damn, he literally went to Cash Converters. So yeah, then we go to Cash Converters.
Before that, it was like almost like a lottery system. Like we saw this lens and we're like, surely, like it has to be our lens. There's no way somebody happens to have this selling it in the same rough location that this dude lives in. Anyway, so we call up Cash Converters and we're like, oh, hey, really interested in this lens. Do you mind, is it in stock? Can we like come have a look at it? And they're like, oh, let me just have a quick look. It's just been like recently uploaded to the site, so it might not even be out in the showroom. Yeah, I'll go out back, check. Goes away for a couple minutes, finally comes back. He's like, yeah, okay, so we've got the lens. And I was like, oh, by any chance, do you mind reading out the serial number to us? Because we have every single item that we own serialized. And so like...
but like where... Do you take that from the actual device serial number?
Yeah, and you need to have it for insurance. So, but like you'd keep it either way, insurance or not, just so you can keep track of your inventory. But yeah, luckily we had the serial numbers at that time.
Okay.
And I feel like this happened like a month earlier. We didn't have any of our serial numbers written down. Like this was so early in the business, like
we didn't even realize we needed that sort of
He was one of our first customers. He might have even been like under 3 first customers, and he did a few rentals and
So you get the serial number. What happens?
So we've
next?
called up and this dude starts reading out the serial number and we're like cross-referencing it with the serial number that we've got on our screen like in front of us, and it kind of like felt like they were reading out lotto numbers because we got closer and closer. Everything's like lining up like until like they finally say the last like letter that matches up, and we all start screaming. We're like, "Fuck yes, they've got our equipment." Anyway, we're like, "Hey, dude, don't know what to tell you, but like that's stolen and that's ours,
and we coming."
And put it on hold. And anyway, long story short, he was like, "Can't put it on hold. If somebody wants to buy it, they can until you get the police down." And we're like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" fuck?
Really?
Yeah.
And so what did you do?
So from there, that night we went to the police station and wrote up a full police report. They retrieved the items that they could from cash converters, but some of it had already been sold from what he took from us.
Wow.
So yeah, so
what'd you do with that? Did you make like an insurance claim or?
Well, at the time, stupidly enough, like that wasn't like our insurance didn't cover that scenario.
Wow.
Because he did the perfect scheme of renting a bunch of items that weren't worth enough individually to like be covered under our insurance policy at the time.
So what do you think this guy was thinking?
I think
have you ever found him or
no
details
so
about him?
We've looked and so have the police. So there's a current arrest warrant out for him if he ever goes through an airport. This gentleman. So the day may come where we get our whatever it is, probably about $5,000 that he's maybe even less now. Like the items he took were quite odd, but obviously losing any item is a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, but he vanished. Like we had his, like as a rental company, you have everything. You have an address, their documentation, like the police went to his address, multiple addresses. I think they went to an address where the roommate or a tenant next door said he'd moved out like 3 days prior or something.
Oh my God.
So it's very, it was
And
very.
you've never found like a social profile of this guy
Nothing.
outside of what he
So
had?
he had social profiles for a few different businesses that he had run, all wedding photography related.
Yeah.
But personally, like he had a LinkedIn, a Facebook, but not much more beyond that.
I found
Scumbag.
I found his dad who lives in another country and runs like a small business.
Wow.
And I tried reaching out to his dad's small business.
And anything?
No response.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So I guess this is like a good example, right? Of like people believing when they start a business they need to go spend money on this theoretical idea, but you guys literally learnt the lesson.
Yeah. I think like
you, in this instance, I'm guessing you've got insurance for individual items now.
yeah. Like we don't like I don't regret it. Like you got to learn the hard way, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I also don't regret it because theoretically we do have a clause for like when people like miss their return date that like if we have like another rental that's been affected, they're liable for the money that we would lose for that. It's not something that we ever really bring up, but it does theoretically mean that with this one man that has not returned all our items, we have an outstanding bill of about $200,000 of rental.
So if we ever see
exactly
our day
right.
in court, which we've been advised we will, if he does actually get arrested because they still can't find him. But yeah, like I think legally we're still owable to a full daily rate rental fee for each item and each day it hasn't been back in store.
Wow.
So like that Panasonic GH4 that probably today has a market value of like $400.
Yeah,
Like,
made you a fuckload of money.
yeah.
It's like, all right.
But yeah, we're probably not gonna get
that's
that
all
money.
joke. Like,
Yeah.
it's not good.
And we're not doing it. Yeah, we're not like, we just want our gear back. And yeah, if you're out there, you know who you are.
We're coming for you,
Yeah,
motherfucker.
yeah. I thought about it. It'd be really interesting being in his shoes right now and seeing like us talk about this situation.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if he still follows you guys on social media or anything like that. That'd be
You never
fucking
know.
hilarious.
Oh, well, another thing worth mentioning, which we found out later, and this is also the fault of our own due diligence, but all of his wedding videography businesses just had abysmal reviews, absolutely abysmal, like 1-star rating, like 20 reviews, all of bride and grooms who were promised a wedding video, paid a deposit. One guy showed up on the day, they never received anything, like that numerous times. Fuck. Another one where they received a really crappy video, but then they were stringing them along for 8 months with the final film, like no audio. Like we'll send you the link after because it's an incredible read.
We're gonna look at it.
It's an incredible read, but so obviously he was a bit of a notorious scammer, and that would definitely be something that we would see ahead of time now.
This is one of those things that people don't talk about in business. I think we've been pretty lucky. The examples I've been given are through Lauren's dad, and that they had the car rental business. The example they have is they actually had like a family friend, and he rented their car, but they vanished and they moved up to Queensland.
Yeah.
And they never
This
ever
guy
got it
vanished.
back.
Yeah.
Never ever got it back and had to make an insurance claim.
Yep.
It's it's brutal stuff.
Yeah, we've really like I have a lot of admiration. I'm sure as does Walt. Like I have a lot of admiration for the people behind rental businesses just around the world. Just like not only sort of on the front facing things like that, dealing with customers, but just like no one really likes you. Like insurance companies don't like you, the banks don't like you. Like the whole concept of renting things is it's very interesting. We've been learning it along the way.
I guess my question was like, when these people pay for stuff, do they pay up front for their rental?
Correct.
Okay. And do they, like when you go to a hotel, etc., do you at all like get a pre-authorization so you could direct debit a certain amount of money?
Correct. Yeah. With certain rentals, when it's high tiered items or big productions, we do deposits, but it really depends on the rental itself.
Well, I'm thinking about like as an example, when you go to a hotel, they ask you to put down a pre-auth.
Oh, right.
bond.
Yeah, like $500, $1,000, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you do have you considered the facility to do something like that?
We have the ability to do that, but it's sort of what we started Sharegear to not have to deal with, just to make the rental process a bit easier.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're still battling that ground, sort of figuring out the right way. Maybe we'll have to do that one day, but it's not something that we felt is the need to do just because of that one instance, which was probably more of a mistake on our part.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, like certainly we've rented stuff before where, we've had to put $1,000 down, and that might have been in a time when we were starting our business and had like $18 in the account.
Yeah.
So
I do remember when we like started running dynamic visuals when we were really young, had no money. A rental company asked us to put down $2,000 to rent.
As a deposit?
Yeah, to rent something that was going to cost us $200. And at the time, the $200 was already like a lot to deal with.
And
they're like, all right, no worries.
That was the balance sheet.
$2,000 down. And we're like, oh my God.
Yeah, shit like that is fucked up.
Yeah, and being on the other side of that, running Sharegear, working with like film students and indie production companies and stuff like that, where they literally have said like, oh, you've just saved us by giving these things, because little things like that, or just slightly better prices, or being better with delivery, stuff like that, it all helps. So I feel like if we're starting to do the thing where we're charging exorbitant insurance fees and putting down thousands of dollars of deposits, it's like, what are we really bringing different to the the market in a way?
That's a good point. I was just thinking back to dealing with scams and fraud. Like, it's been something that I've picked up more in the last 2 years because of what has happened because of COVID. And I don't know why I keep having to reference Lauren's parents, but it seems the examples I've got are related to them. But they've got one recently.
Scams are on one side of the family.
Yeah. They've got an unfortunate example, where they bought a house in Queensland. So they sold an old family home, bought a house in Queensland, and they've still not been able to settle on it because it's in like a holiday area, and the current owner forgot that he had this contract. Well, he knew he had this contract, right? And it's like a competitor to Luxury Escape. So they do rentals, deals and stuff like that in specific luxury locations. In this case, it's Port Douglas. So the agreement allows them to put a caveat over the property. So the company has a caveat on the property, which means that they can't sell the property until the agreement ends, which is June of this year.
Right.
And they bought it in like October, November of last year. Right?
Yeah.
It should have been settled October.
Yeah.
And this person's business is fucked. Like what you said with the video company, the reviews are all 1 star. You go on social media, it's like, do not deal with this business. They are a scammer. They'll take a deposit and then they'll cancel your booking and all this sort of stuff. And
it's very entertaining reading.
It's fascinating. It's so fascinating because you look at it and you go like, wow, there's some real fucking scumbags, man.
Yeah.
And in this instance, they can't work it out other than that the guy is possibly broke as to why he won't relinquish the rental, because he's having to pay, right? But apparently he's not paying on time. He's not paying his rent on time. And the owner's offered to forgo the rent and also pay him like a lump sum so he'll just leave so that they can settle on the property.
Yeah, damn.
But he won't. And he legally had the conveyancing lawyers like, we can't do a thing until the agreement ends in June. So they're just trying to hope that he'll just give up at the moment. Otherwise, they're waiting till June to settle.
What could possibly go wrong with hoping?
Wow. Exactly right, Kieren. Don't hope. Yeah, hope is not what you use in business at all. But yeah, I found that fucking fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating. Speaking of COVID, it's
Yes, I do have it.
you do. Have you had it at all?
No, I actually did get it about a
I got
month
it.
ago, roughly.
Yeah, I got it in Christmas. So I was out of action in Christmas.
Oh no,
Yeah.
bad time.
Did you get it?
I did, yeah. I got it last September. Like, feel like I was early in Melbourne.
Yeah.
When I had it, I
Fuck,
didn't
okay.
know anyone else who had it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Lauren and I got it in Christmas. I think Jacob reckons he got it, but he's not sure because it never came up in tests. But Jacob reckons he's had it. I'm pretty sure Jackie, our new start, has had it. I don't think I know really many people who haven't had it.
Yeah, I think it seems like it's something that sort of everyone's going to deal with at one point.
So you guys were the only, when I looked back at it, you were last in the 24th of June, 2020.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you guys were one of like 3 people that came in for in-person interviews during that time.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun.
That was the end of the first lockdown, wasn't
The
it?
first one where we thought we'd all conquered
Yeah.
COVID.
It was like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's like 2 or 3 weeks, and then we went back into lockdown. I also remember one of the influencers that eventually, pressed us to go into the talent management business was like the first guest that came in.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So what has just think back to like June 2020. It's like almost fucking 2 years, right? So in that time, our business has changed dramatically in terms of our focus. We've had staff members leave. Laura and I got married last year. We moved house. What else has fucking happened?
There's a lot, yeah. Neither of us moved house or got married. Oh, well, we did. We both did move house, but
Yeah, moved out.
no marriages.
But for you both personally, and then together with the business, what's it been like the biggest shift for you?
If you think of something first.
Please.
Definitely with the business, it's definitely shifted our perspective of like priority with DV and Sharegear, because we're still back when we were talking then, we were very much I think our attitude towards how we were running both businesses was a bit different, and that is sort of now. But it's been such a jumble of the past 2 years that it's so hard to be like, oh, we were doing this then, but this now, because it feels like we're still almost dealing with it in the same way.
What do you think was the shift? Like, what was different then versus now?
I think what was different then was more like clients just not proceeding with any form of production at all, which was, I think, a bit more typical of what the whole world was doing at the time as well. And then like America got back to film production pretty quickly, and then Australia followed suit a few months after. But like June 2020 when we were on the show, like I don't think we had any shoots going on. We were editing and we were still in business, but it was everything was either postponed or cancelled. And now that's not the case, which is good.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just trying to think back to that. Like we had, did you guys have like JobKeeper and stuff like that? I remember getting JobKeeper.
Yeah.
There's basically no work.
Yeah, for a brief period of time. Yeah, absolutely.
When I look back at it, I feel like at one point our revenue was down like 80 or 70% or something like that.
Yeah. Us very similar. It was quite funny with Sharegear. It was almost like that instant drop. Like we started in like February 2020 and had a few actual good months until about those lockdowns. But it was funny seeing like such a big drop from a business that had started 2 months ago.
Yeah, you'd fucking shit yourself.
Yeah.
What about you, Walt? Anything that seems interesting in hindsight?
Not really. I think just from then until now, the only thing that's changed is like my priorities and my like off time. You know, like I think I've been focusing so much on hobbies and, just like real, like wholesome mindfulness, down that whole route,
Okay. So what are your hobbies at the moment?
Well, over the entirety of the lockdown, I built a motorcycle from scratch.
That's right. So I'm pretty sure I saw you post a story of like a car.
There's a lot of cars.
Oh, yeah.
Around.
So I also bought a car.
Okay. So you got into like mechanics in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I've been into them for a while, but I finally had time to actually like just sit down and do it, because it's so time consuming, and it's like what COVID gave me the opportunity to do was also like go and like isolate in my mum's back room for like a week at a time. And then I'd just stay up in the country and just, work on my bike or work on my car.
Okay.
And also, I guess in hindsight, that's definitely outing me for breaking my lockdown rules and
Mate,
restrictions.
fuck him. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, exactly right. We're on the
I
other
think
side.
like 90% of people didn't pay any of those fines, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's some outrageous amount.
What were the fines in the
It was like $1,500 or maybe
Right.
it depends on
Yeah.
what you did.
Yeah.
But apparently the sheriff's office published numbers and they're not even bothering to
Yeah.
they actually can't because the numbers are so big. It's
I guess
something like 100,000 plus people got those COVID fines.
Wow.
And they just can't enforce it because they don't have enough people in the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
Which I found really interesting. So
That's insane.
what's the bike?
Oh, I just I took an old 80s motorcycle.
Okay.
And I essentially took everything off it and then cut it in half. And then I built a new back half to it and then built everything else on top of it and rebuilt it from the ground up.
Yeah, right.
So so essentially I just took a regular motorcycle and made a custom chopper out of it. And that was my big, COVID kind of endeavor.
So what was the motor? What was the make of the bike originally?
Yamaha originally.
Okay, so Yamaha motorbike, and the bike itself, was it sort of like a road bike or one of those sort of cafe racer?
It was
type
like
things?
a road bike originally.
Okay,
It's one of those ones.
now it's more like a chopper, right?
Yeah. So added all the real cliche chopper things, slightly high handlebars, not distastefully high.
Yeah.
I
You
made
have to show me some photos.
Oh, I absolutely will.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of it. But outside of that, outside the personal side, I think what Kieren was saying with business is definitely that mindset on the relation between our two businesses and where our focus were and where our passions were. And I think starting up Sharegear during COVID and just having good months, bad months, good months, bad months is really grueling.
Yeah.
Especially when it's just something that you're just getting into. But then there was always DV still ticking along, the first little child that we still love and working away at that and realizing hey, yeah, DV is still our thing, stay on top
the
of it.
Sharegear child is still falling over.
Yeah.
It's
and Davey's still sort of holding its hand.
Yeah,
along
because
the way.
it's DV is powered by Sharegear.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? It's a great business model. I remember having a conversation with Frenchy about it. I'm like, I think because we're looking at getting you guys to do the special.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
of all places, he's filming in fucking Chelsea. Heights.
Yeah. No,
It's so
good.
funny when they did the tour
I was
management.
picturing Madison Square Garden,
Mate, I was thinking he'd be doing the town hall or some other venue like that, and he's like, "Nah, mate, I want to go Super Bogan."
I love it.
Like King of the Bogan Stadium type setup.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But I feel that's where you'll get the best crowd interaction.
oh,
Yeah.
it's gonna be
Something really funny. It's up where he wants to shoot it is up where my cousin lives.
All right.
And I wasn't following Frenchy before. I knew I love him and I already knew of him since back in the day. But my cousin's already following him. So it's just, it makes sense. He knows what he's doing.
He if people go back and listen to his episode, he fully understands that he's a living meme, and who he's targeting.
Yeah.
People think he's a dummy, and I think a lot of his content used to go over my head.
Right, yeah.
Until he reached out for management, really. I'd always been following his stuff, but it really went over my head until he reached out and I properly dug into it.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, fuck, he's very aware of what he's doing.
Yeah.
Paris Hilton of Bogan content.
Yeah.
love it.
Paris Hilton of Bogan
Love
content. A good way of looking at it. But I think having that business, I just think having an integrated business makes sense.
Yeah, I love it. I feel any other business we would want to start or run, I feel it's so fun doing sort of two things. One of our clients we were shooting with yesterday, it was sort of reminiscent of what we want to be in 10 years. They're a company in the tech space, but they're running two completely different companies, but under the same roof like us, in the same industry like us, but still sort of servicing
Different names.
different areas, different names. And it was really interesting to see that sort of at scale with a company that's international with 50 employees versus Walt and I, it's 3 people in Richmond, but it was still the same thing. They referred to it as, their sister company. They referred to it as their offshoot company. Like it was literally like being in like where we want to be in 10 years. It was quite cool.
Yeah.
And it's sort of validating as well. It's good to see that like you can run two companies under the same industry with the same business partner. Like you can make it work.
I think as well is because like what would have happened maybe 10, 20 years ago is you just offered those rental services within dynamic visuals.
Yeah.
But I think like the splintering off and atomization of everything because of the internet has meant that like being niche focused actually allows you to do
You
better.
need it, yeah. We
Like-
couldn't have,
If you had been dynamic visuals, both the producer, production company / a rental company, I think it confuses some people.
It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. And it's also exactly what you said in the internet day and age, as they say. It's like just something as simple as SEO. Like you need that separate camera rental, Sharegear, video production, dynamic visuals. When you start cluttering things, it gets a bit confusing.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I have that issue sometimes when people like reach out and they want video and I'm like, oh, okay, no worries. I'll go onto their site. I'll say what they're about. I'll say what they do. And I'm just going through pages and pages being like, I've read like 6 pages at this point and I still don't know what you're doing. You're just listing all these abstract things.
Yeah. I'm sure you know what we're talking about, John. The classic
people
emails you get where we're a consulting hybrid agency, digital / creative distillery.
Yeah. And we do SEO, PPC, social ads, influencer marketing, website development. It's like, okay.
It's like, I'm sure you do. And there's a lot of places that do so many professional services like really well at a lot, but there are those places that we're talking about which it's too cluttered. You don't know who you're dealing with. You don't know where their like strengths are in the business. And that's sort of why we wanted to separate it. I think we mentioned this last time, but we wanted to call it dynamic rentals initially, but we intentionally didn't for that reason. We're like, you know what? It's actually probably better if these are two separate things and they can help each other out while still being separate things.
No, I agree with that. I think we had this period when we first started running the business when it was just Lauren and I, and we just like we've had previous guests. Dan Monheit, his episode went live this week, and I talk about it all the time. Doing anything for anyone, anytime, any price. Like and then you have a website where you've got like every single fucking type of service. We're going through a website update at the moment, and basically like my brief to Lauren was, I just want like literally one page.
Yeah.
Like I don't want anything else.
I don't know if
be so simple.
I don't know if Gordon Ramsay said less is more. I don't know if he took that, but it's so true. It's so true. And we're constantly thinking about that too. Like it's a lot of the times just even to the point where like something we discuss now, like back in the day, like our like extravagance with emails or like certain things of just like we would literally have like an essayed email for like the simplest job, which now we less is more. You don't need to do that, but there's also probably some importance that being up and comers and just showing everything you've got when you have nothing to show already. But it's a good adamant stand by less is more, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Even with this set, it's like it's not over complex, but it's really nice.
Yeah, it's simple. Although Jacob's looking at us and saying "fuck you." What about my sound? Yeah. More foam and curtains. They're coming. It's all right. Let's talk about specifically dynamic visuals and where that business is at. Like, you guys are still probably sub 25, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
As in people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're really, really young.
Yeah.
But you go on your website.
Oh, as in age. I thought you meant as in employees. I'm like, fuck, Jordan thinks we're a lot bigger than we are.
No, I've been in the office. I know how you do it.
Yeah.
So, because when you look at the website, the amount of work you've done is impressive for where you guys
And we haven't updated the website in 2 years, by
Exactly.
the way. There's a lot to come.
That's the thing. We have the same thing. We haven't updated our website in fucking ages.
Yeah.
So it seems like you've done everything from TVC to digital ads. Like if it exists, you've done it.
Yeah.
The next logical step for me, and obviously there's the commercial space, and then there is being in like network production.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever discussed between the two of you of getting into the business of being producers per se?
Definitely. Like we've been a lot of the people we're working with at the moment, as Walt was mentioning, with this office space that we're wanting to move in, we're starting to utilize the service and be utilized and be used by other people for like the same sort of production. So where
Sounds like a little bit of a film cult.
yeah, but
A
like
little commune.
to simplify it, we're
Yeah,
utilizing
Satan.
the capacity of other production companies who are utilizing the capacity of us, other agencies, stuff like that. But what we've learned within doing all this is sort of like the business of IP, of intellectual property in an industry like this is definitely something that may be the next step for us, or something that we definitely want to have more of a focus on. Because as you said, yeah, we haven't been in this for long, but we've definitely ticked off a lot of those boxes of like, yeah, we've done high-end commercial work, we've done really low-end stuff, web series, smaller stuff, YouTube stuff, even, you know, like, yeah, live recording of events, we've done live streaming,
Yeah, events, been a big
short form documentary series, like a whole bunch of stuff, international travel. But like, what's next? Like, could we actually do what we wanted to do when making YouTube videos and start to be in the business of like our ideas? And that's definitely something we want to start to have a short and long term focus on. But in saying all that, you still have to pay the bills, so and you still have to grow a team. But
Yeah.
it's definitely opened my eyes to the point where we are now, and the people we're working with, seeing like where the people who may have been in our spot 5 years ago, where they are now 5 years ahead.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you guys look at any like production companies or businesses, whether locally or internationally, and go like, that's where we want to be?
Absolutely. Yeah.
all the time.
I think to
Is there one you can name?
there's definitely heaps we can name, but I think
yeah,
to be
I feel like there's probably like 5 we can name that are also in Richmond.
yeah,
To be
yeah,
honest.
that's true.
You know, like
Yeah, I think as a small business or any growing business, you need to be constantly looking at your competition. But like, doesn't mean they're just your competition. Like, they're your biggest inspiration most of the time growing a business. So there was this one company Walt and I were looking at when we were still in school making YouTube videos, Monster and Bear. That's just one name to drop. But like, the quality of their work that they're producing and were producing 5 years ago, and the small, tight-knit scale of their team, and like the output, what they're able to do, the look and feel of their website, it's like that's one name I can name, and they're really strong in the narrative space. And I think that company in particular is a really talented director who runs it, and she's now getting into, you know, directing TV shows and stuff like that. So just seeing like one instance of that is such an inspiration for where we want to be. But then there's other companies like Vidico, for example, which have absolutely like smashed the Melbourne and Australian production industry in the past few years, really focusing on like the tech space and startups. And like, you go on Vidico's website and you're just like, my goodness, like that is an amazing website. My God, I feel like I should give up right now.
Well, that's where Julia left us for video.
Yeah.
Video
Oh, right. Yeah.
We're devastated.
Yeah, but yeah, well, exactly. Then they're an incredible company, seeing what they've done in recent times. So yeah, like
I also feel like
so
it's
many
never
things,
like
yeah.
it's never like the one ideal business either.
No,
it's like
absolutely
always
not,
this one isn't as positive as everything Kieren say, but like you look at businesses and you're like, wow, this is really cool, but it's too business to business, it's too corporate, but they're still producing really beautiful stuff. And it's like, I want to get those jobs. But, you know, now I'm looking over at this business, you know, they're not doing that big high budget stuff, but like their footage is so beautiful.
You're talking about our boys One House?
I am.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a couple mates, One House Productions, shout out. And I would say their quality is like superior to most of like the production companies in Melbourne with like 20 employees. And it's just 3 lads who are still in uni as we speak.
Really?
Yeah. And
it's just a commercial production company?
I wouldn't even say commercial. They're sort of, as Walt was saying, like redefining what an outfit of like a collective of filmmakers can look like. So even going as deep as like one of their short films they're producing is funded via an NFT. So like stuff like that. They're really like, and yeah, we could talk about NFTs all day. But,
I was literally thinking about that because we both. I indirectly know someone that you knew in the crypto space.
Okay, right, yeah. Yeah.
And you mentioned his name when we caught up at your office, like honestly 2 years ago.
Tom?
And he was working in your office.
Oh, Tristan. Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
What's his And is his name like Tristan.eth on something on Twitter now? Or?
No, but I know who you're talking about. Different Tristan.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's still in the space, but a bit less in the NFT sort of side of things.
Yeah, he's more in like the
Payments.
yeah, like utilizing like blockchain and crypto for
That's
like
what-
old school payment like processes. So
Right.
like
Who is
almost
who is he? A young guy?
He is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is this the same
He's a
guy?
wonderkind.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if that's the same dude because I've been following this dude on Twitter for ages.
Yeah, it's not him.
Who am I thinking of?
Tristan.eth you're thinking of, who is like an NFT Twitter guy.
And is this the person that you know?
No. Same
Okay.
name. Yep.
I'm fucking tripping ball. No, I swear there was a guy that we mutually knew that was in the crypto space, and
Interesting, yeah.
he's
Maybe there is.
young. And
Yeah.
anyway, have you guys looked at? I'm guessing you've looked at NFTs, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
our mate Tom Nosky, shout out Tom Nosky, he released a few NFT collections throughout the past sort of 12 months, and we're definitely big supporters of his work. He produces beautiful work.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're still sort of, me personally, like, I still don't know what to think of the NFT space. I think there is 100% like going to be, or it currently is, like really good usage for them. I think the way that artists can get paid when their work is sold is really cool. But I don't really know what else to think of it still. And I do own, that is saying I do own one. Like,
yeah, same thing. I also own a single NFT.
yeah. But
Yeah.
as far as like apes for $70 million and stuff like that, like, I don't know. I don't,
Yeah,
like,
I
I
kinda get
guess I want to
lost.
get it, but like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that at that point, at that pointy end of the top tier, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Like, when is it just a bunch of rich people just like moving money around? And
But it is that.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
It's just social capital.
yeah.
It's like, why do people buy a Ferrari? And it's literally the same thing. It's, look
Yeah.
how sick I am.
Yeah, but then you do see some amazing NFT works, like that one of the house block. Still,
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
my favorite NFT. I don't know if you've seen it, Jordan, but
House
like,
blocks.
it's like just those sort of vertical looking, really nice old era houses. But I don't know how many images, like 10,000 there are, but they're all so good. And like when you say NFT collections like that, I'm like, damn, I actually understand that. I want to own that dark and gloomy one or that cool red one. But yeah, with the crypto punks and like, it's still art, but it's just like, it's next level, as you say.
I think it's called Village Metaverse.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and they're sort of sitting. No, actually, it isn't this one. But I have seen what you said, and it's like sitting on like a floating block.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like square, and the whole idea is that you're buying space in the metaverse. From my perspective, though, I don't get those NFTs. Like, it looks cool, but like, are we really going to live our lives in the metaverse? I'm not fully convinced of that. Obviously, we're going to wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be hanging out in fucking whatever Zuckerberg's
Bitcoin
metaverse is.
Island.
Decentraland is another good example. It's interesting, but like, I'm probably not going to hang out there. Sandbox is another one.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but
There's
like,
so many.
but I'm not going to put 10 grand down to like buy a space there that I can't physically touch yet,
It's
or at
interesting.
least feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I really hope not, but I really don't think that like these people buying it to like actually live there. Like, I personally,
No,
can't-
of course
I,
not.
no. I know what you mean by like, but like, I can't imagine like it meaning anything else. Like, to me, like so many of these NFT sort of things are just like literally just like people playing with money and trying to
Pretty much.
scam. Like, I don't know. That's why I think I sit on the fence about NFTs.
Yeah.
It's like it gets really confusing to actually pick and choose the artistic value of some of these images versus like what is just literally like a boys' club of,
JPEGs.
yeah, exactly right. Just
I don't know what was
throwing cash.
Here's my take. Enough. I found it interesting getting involved in an NFT project that I was pulled into from a friend who owns an animation studio, and I think you're right. A lot of some of this more obtuse stuff is people just pissing around money and trying to flip it and do well. There are very clear examples of projects that have done really well. Like, I think anything in that Bored Ape, Mutant Ape ecosystem, if you had owned one of them, the IP impact is just been massive. CryptoPunks is another example. The best new one recently would probably be Doodles. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it's like basically these like sort of fruit tingles sort of color type little people. And what I like about it is the three guys who founded it came from CryptoKitties, which was the first like NFT sort of project.
2015 or something.
2015 or like
even
something
earlier,
like that.
Yeah. And our mate Tristan, by the way, who's in the office with us, he told us about CryptoKitties like a long time ago.
Really?
It took me so long, like once NFTs got really popularized, to realize as well, like, oh my God, Tristan yet again predicted knew about this.
I bet you told you guys about DeFi ages ago as well.
Well, yeah, he started his company in DeFi in 2015, 2016 or whatever it was. Yeah.
That's fucking so early.
Yeah.
So the thing that I've learned doing the research of the shit that is blue chip and the shit which the majority of it, like 95% is crap, is that the project that only really makes sense in this instance is probably 2 or 3, and you can get up to 5 of them, but you've got like, let's call it media/art. So a Doodles, Sport Ape Yacht Club, etc. You're basically looking at like Cause or Hype Bears or Supreme or something like that. You create this IP, it expands out into comics, merchandise, figurines, all that sort of stuff. You have a business, right?
Yeah.
You've got gaming, which the whole application has been like you earn money to play the game, or you can rent more valuable players to make more money in the game, and then you get a cut from that. I don't personally get that application yet because it's mainly just people in the third world playing these games to earn money in US dollars. Right. So like you've got a massive wave of like Filipinos playing these play to earn games. Then you've got DAOs, which I think to me in the NFT space are an absolute, it doesn't make any sense. A DAO is essentially you'll buy this NFT, all the money gets pooled, and that money gets pooled to go invest in other things. In most cases, they invest in other NFTs. And the belief is that they distribute you these tokens that they create out of thin air, which represent a holding in this, supposed to represent a holding in these collection of NFTs. But like, where is the cash flow coming from?
It's got that pyramid-y sound to it.
It's got a very pyramid-y sound. So that's 3. And then you've got Metaverse, which I think could have application, but I don't quite get it yet. Like I still don't get it.
Yeah, I think until you can put on like a VR headset and like not see pixels and like not really instantly know that you're in like a headset, like I feel like that just has to get so much better before
it's going to
the metaverse can be fully embraced.
Quite a lot. And then like which metaverse wins, you know? Like is it Facebook's? Is it Sandbox because they've got an Adidas and Snoop Dogg and all these mainstream brands in there? I don't know.
Maybe Samsung will come out with like a Bixby metaverse.
Who knows?
Jump into the Bixby metaverse.
And then the 5th one is probably
Hellscape.
The 5th one, Hellscape is the best way to put it.
Bring back Bixby.
The 5th one to me is like music. And to me that has a really quick application because if artists already sell the rights to their music on rights platforms and you can come and invest in them.
Yep.
I think if you launch an NFT or a token that gives you an ownership of those rights, which gives you distribution of the cash flow, then that is like an immediate application.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense to me.
Don't get me wrong. I still think like NFTs and like having tokens, there's going to be so many applications where it is really useful. I just think it's too early to really know where that space is going, at least for me, for someone that doesn't like, I'm not against NFTs by any means. I just against some picture-based, seemingly valueless.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I think it's still a really interesting, I don't know, space. Like when I talk to Tom Noski, who is like a digital artist who's creating NFTs, like he gets so like enthusiastic.
You can't not feel passionate.
Yeah, I feel so passionate. And he's like, no, it's not even about the pictures. Like where this space is going, when he starts diving into how like your whole life is going to be your like MetaMask wallet. And it's like, all right, I guess like the tech is going that way.
I can see where, like, maybe I guess I haven't had the conversation with him yet, and I need to get him back in now that he's, he looks like he's lost 20 kilos and he's,
it looks like he's
Machine Gun Kelly or something like that, with his blonde hair and his like sleeves of tats.
It looks like he's training for an event that is like thousands of kilometers, some Ironman times 100.
I don't think I've ever caught up with Tom Noski and he hasn't had a new tattoo.
Yeah. So I was really surprised by that because I just remember thinking like when I interviewed him, did he have that many tattoos?
Yeah, he did. He did.
He did.
Yeah.
But I can see where he's coming from, maybe from a DeFi perspective, or even like this NFT project is actually a good example. The way that we've been able to coordinate across many borders. Like, so there's the original founders, which are two Aussie-based guys. One works at Amazon, one owns the animation studio, and then beneath them are a few others. And then there's leaders that I was drawn in as a leader. So I'm not a founder, but a leader. And then there are a few others in like West Coast America, and there's one in like center part of America, like Missouri or something like that.
Is this Jerry, the animation owner?
No. Stepmate Studios.
Oh, right.
Mark
yeah,
and
nice.
Seb. We've had them on a few times.
Yeah. We were actually, funnily enough, we were on another podcast for a work experience student who interviewed them and then us, and we were on the same episode of like two different places in the like media industry, and it happens
so
enough that they
funny.
were also on this.
No shit.
Yeah.
I
they're awesome.
thoroughly recommend that you guys go listen to their podcast, and anyone listening, go listen. It's hilarious. It's just Mark talking absolute shit.
I don't know which one, but one of them is so funny.
Yeah.
And his voice just instantly hooks you.
His voice. Yeah. Mark is like the outrageous one, and Seb is the straightforward.
You need the straight
one.
man, though.
Yeah, you need. They don't work outside of each other, but they're better together.
Good.
They're like yin and yang.
Yin and yang. Yep.
Not yin and
Not
yang.
yang.
Lauren's told me a million times. So they drew us in, and the big insight for me was like how you work, and then because already I'm in the crypto space, and then it drew me more to look at DeFi. And I just think, like, how do these DeFi systems work when a lot of them are protocols? A protocol is literally a piece of tech. Okay, so how does it organize? You've often got a token that guarantees you voting rights and monetary rights. Sometimes they're combined, sometimes they're split up, right? So how do they do this sort of shit and coordinate? And it's been a real eye-opener and made me go like, fuck, are we going to have companies in 10 to 15 years? I'm not sure. Like, there are systems that exist that allow you as a group to organize, focus on a task for a system, complete it, and then go on your merry way and do something else.
No need to pay ASIC $200
No need to pay ASIC $200. You just got your MetaMask wallet, as Tom Noski says.
Yeah.
Coordinate is the system, is a good example of one. You literally set an epoch.
Okay.
So a certain amount of time, it could be a week, a month, a year. The protocol puts out the work. People are assigned to the work, and then and at the end of the epoch, if it's completed and agreed upon, then the money's released.
Wow.
And it's like, whoa, okay, this is pretty fucking wild. Like, I just can't see how people are going to necessarily need a lot of the elements that exist of a company. An employer. Like, are we all just going to have ABNs and then MetaMask and we just do that? Like, it's a very extreme form. I don't think someone like my parents are going to do it, but Jacob might.
That sounds dystopian.
Yeah, I was going to say,
It's like, you forgot to do this one thing. That's it. You're not eating for a week.
No.
That's what you can complain. There's nobody can complain to.
I know what you mean. That's the only thing that makes it hard, is like a lot of it requires trust to exist between individuals.
Yeah.
And so that's like,
I don't
probably
think
the
we're getting
tricky
any
part.
closer to that, though, on like a larger scale, though.
It's sort of like the advancement as well, just from what's happening now currently with, like the traditional companies realizing you don't necessarily need to have 100 employees in one building to do whatever you were doing.
Yeah.
Just taking that like mindset and being like, oh, we don't need desks. We don't need an office. We don't need an ABN. We don't need whatever it is. We don't need a company structure.
Fair work.
Yeah. We don't
need to be registered with workers' comp insurance.
Yeah, but all that as well is sort of why these NFT projects currently are attracting that group, I feel.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of work to be done, and Yeah.
But I think it is a good thing because it just challenges us to think about like what is a necessary use of resources, i.e. money or time, for something to exist and work.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I think that's been the biggest thing is like what you said before about the workplace. Like, do you need an office? I don't know. I think it's definitely made people ask that question.
It's interesting as well, just us like starting, 2 companies now, which means it's double this, but just like the amount of fees and like headache there is to set up a company, like, and we've done it twice, but yeah, it would be cool if there was a time and a place where you didn't necessarily have to do all the headache work, and you could actually just get started on whatever you want to be doing. Like if we could just pick up a camera and just like make videos and keep it as simple as that, people give us cash in hand at the end of the shoot.
Yeah.
This is pretty much just like we're putting ourselves out there that we're taking cashies.
Yeah. That's a pointer to everyone.
Yeah. Cashies.
And yeah, I think they're trying to get rid of cash as well, aren't they?
Huh?
They're trying to get rid of cash in Melbourne or Sydney, somewhere it's happening. Like,
I know for a fact that you can no longer make. I think it's cash withdrawals. Not that who the fuck would do this, honestly. Like you can't make withdrawals above 10 grand
right
now at any bank.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's now illegal to do that.
Oh wow, damn.
That sucks. Like as a young person, I've always dreamed of withdrawing
Just
100
holding a
grand
massive
of cash.
wad of cash.
Yeah. When we got our this happened multiple times of like our biggest job, then we had another biggest job. But I always said to Walt, "Can we just cash it all out so we can just see what it looks like in a briefcase?" But now we legally cannot do that.
Yeah. Have you ever done anything like that? Have you ever considered?
No, we haven't done anything like that. The closest we've got is when we had a big job once early on when we started the business, and the entire payment for that job just went half to Walt and I, and we both bght a new car.
Oh, shit.
And like because we didn't want to have to wait for like transfer times between all the different like accounts, so Kieren could buy the car the same day that the money came in. We literally went to the bank and withdrew like the exact amount of money and walked around with a wad of cash.
You're kidding.
Yeah,
And
went to
just-
Macca's with it as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Went to Macca's, spent the first little bit off the top, and then went and bought a car on
And
the
then
day.
yeah,
when
the
it came
went
out.
to another bank and deposited the cash into that guy's account because that was the quickest way to do it. Like if you go to their bank, deposit it. But
So
yeah.
you didn't think, oh, maybe I'll just do a bank check.
Well, no. Because the
Why?
check's boring, but the wad is. The
What
wad.
the
Yeah,
fuck?
you're forgetting
wad.
the main element, which was we also wanted to see a wad of cash.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's really
Yeah.
what was happening.
Yeah. And it wasn't a lot of money. It wasn't, but
Okay,
it was our first biggest job.
Was this wasn't the famed like you running a video production company with a BMW remove, what do you call it?
A convertible.
Convertible.
Do you still have that car?
I
The
do,
one
yeah.
parked out front.
The one parked out front,
Oh,
yeah.
fuck, that's
And it's
bad.
gone well today.
It's going well.
Yeah.
It wasn't that car, was it?
No, it was.
It was?
I've only ever had one car, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very
So yeah, it was the classic, like, get your first real like bit of money and buy a BMW, like, yeah,
yeah.
whatever.
It's funny how like you make those new firsts, like particularly in the business where you obviously you got all these overheads, so like you can see a certain amount of money in your bank account, and then it doesn't matter anyway because like half of it's going out this month,
The next day, yeah.
the next day or whatever.
Yeah.
But it always still blows my mind because like sometimes I'd be like, fuck, I've never seen that amount of money in my own bank account.
It's good,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a nice feeling when it's there, but yeah, it's running a business. It's not there
it's
for
gone,
long.
it's gone tomorrow. It's absolutely gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, credit card bill, no worries.
yeah, there you go.
What I guess through this whole period, the thing that I'm intrigued by is like what you guys would have picked up about what never changed. So there's a lot of stuff that changed. There's a lot of stuff that accelerated. We were chatting before. You think about moving space, people questioning the spaces that they work in. For us, for 2 years, we thought, oh yeah, fuck, we could probably work from home forever. And then we realized, absolutely not. I fucking hate this.
Yeah.
I need to segregate my life. We need our own space. There are other things as well that existed just within the industry, like good marketing will never die and people will spend good money for it, even during a recession.
Yeah,
Because we're
absolutely.
essentially in a recession, right?
Yeah.
Was there anything that never changed for you guys and remained consistent, you reckon, over the last 2 years?
That's a good question.
There was a lot of change. Like
Yeah,
I
'cause
feel like everything like sort of changed that wasn't just like physically where we were at, you know, like obviously we didn't move offices in COVID, you know, we didn't really change much around physically, but like I think it definitely changed like perceptions and like mindset.
Yeah,
And like
definitely.
it definitely gave me also like you'd think it would be like really hard in the sense that it's like, oh no, like COVID's affecting my business. I'm not making as much money as I kind of need to be, you know, and you'd think that'd be disheartening, but it's like it almost did the opposite of like making me be like, damn, I just want to like get out of this lockdown and like get out of it.
Yeah.
I want to be like I want to be untethered. Like
Yeah.
just send me free. I want to like, you know, go out there, film some shit. So I think it like I don't know. I don't think it actually did change that much.
Interesting.
I think it just like re-sparked joy in a weird way.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
sort of agree with that as well. Not only did it re-spark joy a bit because it sort of sucked all the joy out, but it like gave us as well, you know, he got to build his bike. I got to chill at home for a bit, play Xbox. Like it sort of gave us things to do, like what we could have already done already, but it just realized like we're running our own business and we can sort of use that to advantage by chilling out when we want to a bit. So I think during the lockdown, the big lockdowns, we definitely took a bit of a step back and were okay with that. And that was a nice realization, like just being like work isn't 100% of your life. It's really important, and it's especially really important when you're running your own business, but it's just as important to chill out.
Yeah, like
yeah.
I think like a big part of it was like before COVID, Kieren and I hadn't taken any more time than 2 weeks over Christmas, New Year's for like the past 3 years, you know, and we were like pretty fine with that. You know, but like COVID, like I just, one day I woke up, I didn't really feel like doing much. So I sat down, I like replied to a couple emails and I just kind of like, just did literally nothing for the rest of the day. I was like, damn.
Just sat there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Watch TV.
Yeah, just sat there. Yeah, just like sat outside with my housemate.
Wow.
Just kind of sat there for like, because, you know, this was like in the middle of like 200 days of lockdown.
Yeah,
So it's
because
like we had run out of everything else to do. So we were just enjoying like silent company and just like doing nothing essentially. And I was like, damn, you know, like.
there's something about that, like mental and versus physical burnout.
Yeah,
Like I think I had physical burnout. Like I had it in the inverse way, the realization that we needed to get back to a life where you weren't just defined by your work. Like a similar situation where we barely had a trip. I remember on our honeymoon, like I was still doing emails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not that it was really a fucking honeymoon because it was a week and it was also during COVID, so it was sort of hard. But I know what you mean, just in the opposite way, and that we were pushed to like the nth degree with the amount of work that we were doing.
Yeah.
Particularly like coming out of the lockdown, the big one last year, going into December, like November, December, we did like 4 months worth of work with only 3 of us. And it was just fucking wild in hindsight.
That's crazy.
And so that was a big realization for me as well. Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder for you guys as well, because like you've had this period of fucking nothing. You can't do shit. And then you come into it like, yeah, re-sparking that joy, you'd be like chomping at the fucking bit to get shit done.
Yeah, it's hectic. But the start of this year in particular has been the busiest we've ever been. And like, it's good being in that, sphere where you're like, damn, this is like actually what we're supposed to be doing, like what we've been building up for. And COVID was really just that. It was like that little hiatus. And it's not going to be like that forever.
And it's also like really satisfying because it's also like you're coming out of it and all we've been told like for 2 years is like, I'm sorry, we can't film because of this. Are you free this date? It gets to that date. They're like, we're going to have to postpone again because of COVID. And it's just been that on return. And it's like, I was kind of sitting here like, what happens if like, you know, it's the new year, we're out of lockdowns and nothing
Happens?
You know,
Like
nothing
no one
happens.
books.
Yeah. It was
I was like, at the end of last year, it was still busy. So like this fear that I was feeling was a little bit prior to like New Year's because I had a good feeling already based on like the end of last year. But like I was definitely sitting there being like, at the end of COVID, what happens if like it's killed like all momentum?
Yeah.
If like it's just like literally like just been so many no's.
September, October period. Yeah.
Like, what
I was
if
in
we
the
go
same
into
boat.
a depression?
Yeah. It was
You know?
seriously like that.
No, I had that thought as well. Did you guys ever have those thoughts around like, sometimes you see people in the industry where they've just decided to, it's less so in like services because you could survive working at home, but you'd see like retail businesses, product businesses.
Even now, still, like, especially where we are in Richmond, the amount of for lease signs just on a bunch of nice cafes and shops we used to go to, like, definitely makes you feel a lot lucky being in a business where, it's like the pandemic doesn't just kill you instantly like that. But yeah, it sucks. Like, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That definitely happened with us. We just noticed people and go, oh shit, okay. They're closing the business down. The other podcast guys that we know, what is it called? The Daily Talk Show, big media company.
Yeah. Those guys as well. Yeah.
they
Full
closed
stack
up.
films. Yeah.
Full stack
Great
films.
inspiration to us as well. They do dope work.
Yeah. So they split up and did their own thing.
Yeah. Right.
But that, they were probably one of like 20 different businesses that I recognized.
Yeah.
I actually remember thinking at that time, like, fuck, if we can just survive,
Yeah.
we'll come out into this new opening and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember having those thoughts.
Yeah, I
regularly.
think it was those. Walt and I had those thoughts as well. But we've always had those thoughts since we were up and comers. So it was sort of like, oh, what if no one like works with us again or blah blah blah. But like that's literally been our concern this whole time, and now we actually have a few clients, so we should be okay.
Yeah,
and we were, but like it's sort of like we'd suffered that already. And like a bit of like. COVID helped us a lot in one way. Like we've always had this one very big client, and then now like sort of not even our biggest client.
right?
And COVID sort of aided that in a weird way, sort of, maybe not, but like almost gave us an opportunity to like start getting into like different sort of sectors and stuff like that.
So it's sort of what pushed you to not be reliant on it.
Not even pushed us, sort of just like forced us by nature. Like we couldn't spend all the time we were.
On that one.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's more so just like they weren't proceeding with production as much as other clients were, which just gave us a shot to do like slightly different work throughout the pandemic, which has led to just more work. But it was different. It was like, I don't know if that made any sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I think we had a similar thing in that one of we had like a retainer client, which was my auntie's company. And as the business was changing, like it was becoming quite clear that the services we were offering her were just not what we did anymore.
Right, yeah.
But
yeah.
It was enough like to pay for like Lauren's salary basically, but it was still dragging in all her time.
Yeah.
So you just sort of had to make the cut at some point and say, hey, we just can't work with you anymore in this way. Like it's just not going to work.
Yeah. COVID was definitely the catalyst for a lot of change, and whether it's office or relationships or how you structure. So I feel like at the start of this interview I didn't really think much changed, but I can
in hindsight now.
Yeah, definitely.
I think also like coming out of COVID, just like also there was an attitude shift of like we're just not doing anything under our full normal rates. Like just that's so done. That's so done. It's never happening again, and just quoting bigger, and because you can quote bigger, you can make the production better. And like finally being in a position where like we can actually facilitate that. We're not bluffing, like we might have done when we just started the business. And I think that it was also just like coming out of COVID and being like, well, like fuck trying to like scramble everything together to just keep this flow, like
get a job done.
Let's do it right. Let's make it bigger and better than it.
100% agree with that. We now, when we take on brand clients, because we're purely talent focused, like we are almost looking at how we can not work with this person because we've gone through that period of like having no fucking work and scrambling together. We've got that base to work off. So we can be very selective and just select better clients who are going to be spending money. The right way as well.
We're in the process right now of pitching for a big a big job, and it happens a lot where there's like a bunch of different companies pitching for the same thing, but the client made a comment to us like, oh, one of the companies pulled out due to their scheduling, and it makes you realize like our whole mantra like starting would be like, say no to nothing, like do it at no matter what. But I just can't believe that this big client, but these people are actually just being honest and being like, we don't have the facilitation for this, so we're not going to do it.
We can't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they want to keep to their quality, which is great.
Yeah, I think that's really good. But when you guys think about it, before we get into these rapid fire questions to finish things off, if you were to both start this business all over again, you got nothing but the knowledge that you two have,
No equipment or anything.
no equipment, nothing, you got a couple grand in the bank, what would you do? Would you start a business like this again, or would you take a different approach? Have you ever thought about that?
Sometimes, yeah,
Yeah. I feel like I've thought about it.
definitely.
And it's a good thought experiment to like, I always say like, whenever people like ask, you know, like, how should I start this? This is definitely more specifically with video production. I always just tell people like, just don't spend money on equipment, you know, like buy the staples, but like don't blow all your money on one big camera like Kieren and I did.
Yeah.
Like the return on that was nowhere near enough
Yeah.
to justify it, you know?
It sort of only made sense for us to do that if we were starting a rental company, which we then did.
Which we
Yeah,
then did
yeah.
because like, I mean, like,
Get the sale first and then worry.
Yeah.
we also had like the passion for the equipment, which turned into a business in itself. But if that's not
Passion
what you're
or
doing,
gear acquisition syndrome?
passion. But I think that's like a big start. Is just like there's so many better ways to spend your money. And if like gear isn't something that you love, but is like what it is, which is a tool to make film, then like just hire it, you know, get clients to pay for it. Don't waste all your money, you know, market yourself, like get a good website, get like good portfolio.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you don't actually really need that much money to get started necessarily.
No, and like be a producer, like be a real producer. Don't think that you need to have like all this stuff set up on the back end.
Yeah,
I think I was guilty of that at the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. You feel like you have to be like a spider with all these arms doing all the things, and like you definitely do running your own business. But yeah, there's so much power in like taking a step back and giving a certain role or task to someone else because they are better at it than you, and the result will be better because of that.
Yeah, the big example of that is Kieren and I trying to do our accounting for the first year of running a business.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, actually,
I
that's a great thing. If we had to start our business again, use invoice numbers.
Oh,
Wait, are you saying that you never did?
Not for the first like a year and a half because we didn't know, like we didn't even know what the word invoice meant. We had to figure out like you actually have to send like a document to them with the money they owe. Like I guess it makes sense, but before that I didn't really know.
like Kieren and I didn't do a single thing that was business related up until we literally started a business, which we Googled how to start.
Yeah.
See, I agree with that, except I took a totally different angle on that. I knew how to do these things. I just insisted upon doing them.
Yeah.
Like only until so this business has been around for 4 years, maybe even 5. I think the other day, maybe a month ago, was when we finally handed over the accounting to the accountants.
Oh, wow.
Like we still do transaction reconciliation, all that, but like the BAS,
Yeah.
the return, all that shit,
Yeah.
and just allowing them to do it, and like random bookkeeping.
I can't believe you did it for that. We were literally like, we've only done one BAS ourselves.
Yeah.
We were done after that.
Yeah, it was
We were just like, no, this is not, like our time is better served somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like doing an accounting degree and being a money
It makes
man,
complete sense.
finance space, I kind of like it.
Yeah.
But I just started to realize that, like, you for your inputs per hour versus what you could pay someone, and then what value you could create.
How nice is it having an accountant though? Like getting all your details back and just being like, damn, like you know how much effort they went to do that reconciliation or figure out your whatever capital loss, capital gain, all that stuff. Like,
Capital loss.
I'm starting with capital
I've got
loss.
no idea.
Yeah, led with the capital loss says a lot.
Yeah, because there's more
You
of
mean
those.
your net profit and cash flow
Yeah,
and
but it's
stuff
just like I think of our
Profit.
accountant doing that and be
Never
like,
seen that on any report.
What's that?
Profit?
Yeah.
So unaware.
Yeah, to me, it's all about what's the cash coming in and what's going out. That's
Yeah.
all I give a shit about. If we make a profit, whatever. As long as I can make payroll and buy stuff to improve, that's all I want.
there it is. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, rapid fire questions. To
I love
finish
the rapid
things
fire.
off. What have you been? If you really had to recommend something like movie doco, what would it be? And it can be recent, but it could be just over the last year or so.
Oh shit. I haven't consumed any media in so long. What did I really enjoy? Is this rapid? Is this rapid at this point?
Hard Boiled by John Woo.
Okay, what's that?
Late 90s Hong Kong action film.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say way less interesting Con Air. I watched it in an Airbnb.
Nick Cage, Con Air.
Yeah, literally I was in an Airbnb in the middle of regional Victoria and they had Con Air on DVD and
you
I was
watched
like,
it?
it's time.
yeah.
And it was fantastic.
I was
And
actually, I
you've
was there
never
too.
seen it before.
I had. That's the worst bit. It was
I
a
hadn't
rewatch.
seen it. I always knew of Con Air, and it's like Nick Cage Con Air. But when I actually found out it's called Con Air because it's just like a bunch of prisoners, a bunch of cons in a plane, like that's genius.
Yeah,
And then
it's
like
on
how it's like basically a film where like the prisoners take over. And,
It's
like,
genius.
They
Yeah,
create like
yeah.
a little kingdom
Yeah,
or some
Con Air.
shit.
They create an airline.
And like of course,
convict.
Nicolas Cage is the good criminal.
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah.
I do you know what's funny is like that. Have you ever seen the Con Air meme? Where, like him stepping up and like his hair's like flying.
Oh, it's just like blowing in the
nice.
wind. Yeah.
And then like now I've seen it on like TikToks or other related
Is that a bit of a
memes
trend?
like that being on someone's face.
Yeah.
But actually, speaking of Nick Cage, like, the guy apparently is so made and he just does whatever film he wants now because he just likes the film. He made this film called Pig recently. It's just about him and he owns a truffle pig. And it's apparently a very, very good film.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like
He's
low
been in some
budget.
great movies. Like,
Yeah.
He's made some great movies.
Gone in 60 Seconds. Is it Gone in 60 Seconds? Yeah,
Yes,
I think it is.
I think it is. Yeah.
Fucking brilliant film.
Never
Still
seen
one
it.
of his best films ever. So you said Con Air, and you said
Hard Boiled.
Hard Boiled. Okay, I like that old 90s like Hong Kong.
It's a great
sort
movie.
of-
Yeah, it's got a really famous one-take shootout scene in a hospital.
Ah.
That's just really dope.
So it's like shootout stuff, not like karate or kung fu.
There is martial arts in it. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's karate or not, but it's mainly action, like shooty, pow.
Shooty. All right, last question for you guys. Item in the fridge you've been going to recently that's like your go-to.
Yumi's falafels.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't
I'd
ask
say-
me why.
Why?
It is. I said don't. And also
I had to
mini
ask.
mini cucumbers.
Mini cucumbers.
Yeah,
Okay.
those two.
I say Remedy kombucha. They're actually really grown on
Okay,
me.
what flavor?
Ginger lemon.
Yes.
Smart man.
Smart man, he's a
they're really good.
big
I like
brain
that
man.
they're from Melbourne as well, aren't they? Like,
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. But yeah, they're really nice.
Jacob and I remember, so we did a campaign with Remedy.
Oh, did
and
it? Yeah.
we had, dude, if you have too much of that stuff, be prepared to go to the bathroom.
Really,
Yeah,
really
it
down.
just goes straight
Haven't got
deep.
there yet, but it is good. It
Or
is
when you
nice.
have like a case of 24 at home,
I
all you
guess that's
do-
easy to.
and
Yeah.
you just drink like 6 of them in a day, probably not the wisest.
That's a lot of like probiotic.
that was the issue. Too much probiotic or something. I reckon ginger lemon, but Lauren's like obsessed with the grape or cherry
Oh yeah,
flavor.
raspberry lemonade.
Yeah, she
That
really
wasn't
likes that
grape
one.
or cherry.
No, there's that one, and then there's something plum. I think it is.
Okay, right. They're
Yeah.
all really good. They taste really nice.
They're all fucking brilliant.
I feel
wanna
like
get
they
some
like
now.
made kombucha better.
They did.
I feel like it was
And also,
awful
if
before then.
people are listening to this, I reckon check out Low Bros. You can get them from Coles.
Oh, cool.
The cola flavor is
Oh,
fucking
yeah,
brilliant.
Nice.
Gents, thanks for coming in again.
Thank you for
Where
having us.
can people find you on the interwebs?
At Sharegear everywhere, and
Okay.
then at Dynamic Visuals AU or at Dynamic Visuals, depending on the platform that allowed us to get it without the AU.
so vague.
Earthsource.com.au. You'll find us there.
Yeah, that one's coming soon.
Wait, what's this?
Don't worry about it.
We'll keep it on the down. We won't say anything about it, but pretty much we're wanting to start a bottled water company called Earth Source.
Okay.
It's been registered for.
I think it's now deregistered.
Oh, it's
No,
now
we're joking.
deregistered.
But if you do go to earthsource.com.au, it links you to Sharegear. So at least people know that we own the domain
Oh my god.
and it's not for sale.
Jacob will link all of that. We'll link your own Instagram.
Beautiful.
But,
Cheers.
Jens, thanks for coming in.
Thanks so
no
much,
worries.
Jordan.
Thanks for
and
having us.
Jacob and Lauren.
Thank you. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. If you liked it, do subscribe. And of course, like it on YouTube if you're watching as well. We'd really appreciate that. For audio, if you've not already listening on your podcast app, you can search for it on any good app, including Spotify, Pocket Casts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc. For video, if you're not watching, you can search Uncommon Podcast on YouTube. It's the first one that appears every single time. For behind the scenes, do follow us on Instagram and TikTok. It's @uncommon_show. But until next time, thanks for tuning in.